In the silence of deep space, Admiral James Harrison stood aboard the bridge of the USS Harbinger, his weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of holographic displays. The year was 2187, and humanity's first encounter with the Nexari Empire had gone catastrophically wrong. "Multiple signatures emerging from quantum space, sir," Lieutenant Olivia Walsh reported, her fingers dancing across the tactical console. "They match the Nexari warship configurations from the Proxima incident." Harrison's jaw tightened. 3 weeks ago, the Nexari had destroyed humanity's largest colony on Proxima Centauri B, claiming it as their territory. The attack had left 30,000 dead and a clear message. The Nexari considered humanity's expansion into space an encroachment on their domain. "How many ships?" Harrison asked, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. 17 capital ships, sir. Their energy signatures are off the charts." The Nexari were technological giants compared to humanity. Their ships, massive crystalline structures that seemed to defy physics, could tear through conventional human defenses like paper. But Harrison and his crew had something the Nexari didn't expect: desperation and ingenuity. "Deploy the quantum mines," Harrison ordered. "Initiate Operation Firewall." Commander David Rodriguez, the ship's XO, raised an eyebrow. "Sir, the mines aren't tested in combat conditions. We could." "We're out of options, David. If we don't stop them here, Earth is next." The USS Harbinger, a sleek vessel that represented the peak of human military technology, began dispersing its experimental payload. Thousands of microscopic quantum mines, each containing a pocket of artificial spacetime, spread out in an invisible net. "Nexari fleet approaching weapons range," Walsh announced. "They're charging their primary weapons." Harrison watched as the enemy fleet advanced. The Nexari ships were beautiful in their alienness, geometric patterns of crystal and energy that pulsed with an inner light. Their technology was based on manipulating crystalline structures at the quantum level, giving them nearly unlimited energy potential. "All hands brace for combat," Harrison's voice echoed through the ship's comm system. "Remember Proxima." The first Nexari blast came without warning, a beam of concentrated energy that could vaporize a small moon. But the Harbinger was ready. Its experimental shields, reverse-engineered from salvaged Nexari technology, held just long enough. "Mines in position," Rodriguez reported, "awaiting your command." Harrison took a deep breath. The next few moments would determine the fate of humanity. Detonate. The quantum mines activated simultaneously, creating a cascade of artificial singularities. The laws of physics bent and warped around the Nexari fleet. Their crystalline technology, so dependent on quantum stability, began to fail. "It's working," Walsh exclaimed. "Their ships are losing power." But the Nexari weren't defeated so easily. Their lead ship, a massive crystalline dreadnought, managed to adapt. It fired a barrage of energy torpedoes directly at the Harbinger. "Evasive maneuvers," Harrison shouted. "Redirect power to forward shields." The ship lurched as it tried to dodge, but the torpedoes were too fast. Impact warnings blared across the bridge as the Harbinger took multiple hits. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 7, the damage control AI reported. "Shield generators at critical levels." Harrison gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered. "Status of the Nexari fleet." 12 ships disabled, Rodriguez reported, but the remaining 5 are adapting to the quantum interference. Harrison knew they had one chance left. He opened a channel to engineering. "Dr. Patel, initiate the resonance cascade." "Admiral, the cascade could tear us apart too," Dr. Patel's worried voice came through. "We don't have a choice, do it." The Harbinger's experimental quantum core began to pulse, emitting waves of energy that matched the exact frequency of the Nexari ship's crystalline structure. It was a desperate gambit based on weeks of studying salvaged Nexari technology. The effect was immediate and devastating. The remaining Nexari ships began to fracture, their beautiful crystalline structures shattering from within. But the Harbinger wasn't unscathed. Warning lights flooded the bridge as the ship's systems began to fail. "Core containment failing," Walsh reported, her voice tight with tension. "We have minutes before total system failure." Harrison watched as the last Nexari ship exploded in a brilliant display of light and crystal. Humanity had won its first major victory against the alien empire, but at what cost? Send the encrypted data burst to Earth Command, Harrison ordered. They need to know the quantum resonance works, and get me a damage report. We need to get this ship home. As emergency teams rushed to contain the damage, Harrison knew this was just the beginning. The Nexari would return stronger and more prepared. But humanity had proven something today. They weren't helpless. They could fight back. And in the vast darkness of space, that spark of hope was worth any price. The aftermath of the Harbinger's victory rippled through both human and Nexari space. In the secure war room of Earth Defense Command, Admiral Harrison stood before the holographic display, his uniform still bearing scars from the recent battle. The Nexari are regrouping, Colonel Samira Khan reported, manipulating the holographic star map. Our deep space probes detected massive fleet movements in the Arrhenia sector. They're preparing something big. Around the table sat humanity's best minds, military strategists, scientists, and fleet commanders. The quantum resonance victory had bought them time, but the Nexari would adapt. They always did. Dr. Patel's analysis of the quantum resonance effect shows the Nexari have already started modifying their crystalline matrices, Harrison explained. Our previous strategy won't work again. Dr. Patel, still recovering from the injuries sustained aboard the Harbinger, pulled up her latest research. But we learned something crucial from that battle. The Nexari ships aren't just powered by their crystals, they're literally grown from them. Their entire civilization is based on crystal technology. Which means what exactly? General Marcus Thompson asked, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on the data. It means we've been thinking about this wrong, Patel continued. We can't beat them with brute force, we need to be subtler. She gestured, and a new hologram appeared, a microscopic structure that pulsed with an inner light. We're calling it the Ghost Protocol, Khan explained. A synthetic virus designed to infect their crystalline technology. Instead of destroying their ships, we reprogram them. Harrison studied the simulation. A computer virus for living crystals. Can we deploy it without them detecting it? That's where these come in. Patel brought up another hologram, thousands of tiny satellites, each no bigger than a coffee cup. Quantum stealth drones, they'll seed the virus through the Nexari fleet's quantum communication network. The room fell silent as the implication sank in. This wasn't just a defensive strategy. It was a way to turn the Nexari's greatest strength against them. How long to implement? Harrison asked. 2 weeks to manufacture the drones, Khan replied. But we need a volunteer crew to deploy them. It's essentially a suicide mission. They'll have to get close enough to the main Nexari fleet to release the drones. Harrison straightened. The Harbinger will do it. My crew knows the risks. James, Thompson started. You barely survived the last encounter. Which is why it has to be us. We know their patterns, their responses, and they know us. They'll be so focused on preventing another quantum resonance attack that they won't see the real threat. Next 2 weeks were a blur of preparation. The Harbinger underwent emergency repairs, its systems modified to carry the stealth drones. The crew trained relentlessly, knowing their next mission could be their last. Lieutenant Walsh developed new stealth protocols, while Commander Rodriguez refined the drone deployment sequences. Dr. Patel worked around the clock, perfecting the crystal virus. Finally, the day arrived. The Harbinger waited at the edge of the Carina sector, its systems running silent. Through the viewscreen, Harrison could see the massive Nexari fleet, hundreds of ships, their crystalline structures gleaming in the starlight. Ghost Protocol is ready, Walsh reported. Drones prepped for deployment. Harrison took a moment to look at his crew's faces, people he'd fought alongside who'd become family. They all knew what was at stake. Begin approach, he ordered. Minimal power, full stealth protocols. The Harbinger glided forward, its advanced stealth systems making it nearly invisible. But they weren't completely undetectable. One wrong move, one power spike, and the entire Nexari fleet would be on them. First wave of drones away, Rodriguez whispered. On the tactical display, tiny dots representing the stealth drones began spreading through the Nexari fleet. Minutes stretched into hours as they carefully maneuvered through the enemy armada. The tension on the bridge was palpable, every crew member knowing that discovery meant certain death. Suddenly, alerts flashed across Walsh's console. Sir, they're activating their quantum scanners. They've detected something. Hold position, Harrison commanded. Don't move a muscle. The massive Nexari flagship, A city-sized crystal structure turned slowly in their direction. Its scanning beams swept through space, passing within meters of the Harbinger. Virus deployment at 67%, Patel reported from engineering. We need another 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes felt like an eternity. Harrison watched as the Nexari ships moved around them, their crystal structures pulsing with energy. One wrong move, one system spike. Deployment complete, Rodriguez finally announced. All drones are in position. Harrison allowed himself a small smile. Initiate Ghost Protocol. Across the Nexari fleet, the virus began its work. At first, there was no visible effect. Then slowly, the crystal ships began to pulse with an irregular rhythm. It's working, Patel's excited voice came through. The virus is rewriting their quantum matrices. But their victory celebration was premature. A massive energy surge erupted from the Nexari flagship, and suddenly every enemy ship turned toward the Harbinger's position. They've detected us, Walsh shouted. Multiple weapons locks. Get us out of here, Harrison ordered. Full power to engines. The Harbinger's engines roared to life as it made a desperate break for safety. Behind them, the Nexari fleet opened fire, but their shots went wide. The virus was already affecting their targeting systems. Jump drive charging, Rodriguez reported. 30 seconds to quantum jump. Those 30 seconds were the longest of Harrison's life. The ship shuddered under near misses as they pushed the engines beyond their limits. Warning lights flashed as systems began to overload. Jump ready, Rodriguez shouted. Do it. The Harbinger vanished into quantum space just as the Nexari flagship fired its main weapon. They had escaped and left behind a fleet infected with a virus that would slowly but surely turn their own technology against them. As they emerged from quantum space near Earth, Harrison looked at his crew with pride. They had just changed the course of the war, not through superior firepower, but through human ingenuity and courage. The Ghost Protocol was just the beginning. The real battle was about to begin. The Ghost Protocol's success had changed everything. 3 months after the Harbinger mission, the Nexari Empire was in chaos. Their once unified crystal network had become their greatest vulnerability, spreading the virus from ship to ship, colony to colony. But the Nexari weren't defeated, they were evolving. They're abandoning their quantum network, Dr. Patel explained during the emergency council meeting, breaking their ships into isolated clusters to contain the virus. And the ships that are infected, Harrison asked. She paused, bringing up new sensor data. They're changing. The holographic display showed a Nexari vessel, but not like any they had seen before. The once beautiful crystal structure was now twisted, growing in unpredictable patterns, and it was fighting back against both its former allies and human ships. The virus didn't just reprogram them, Harrison realized. It made them sentient, Patel confirmed. We've created a third faction in this war. The infected ships have developed their own consciousness, their own agenda. They call themselves the Awakened. General Thompson's cybernetic eye whirred as he processed the implications. So now we're fighting 2 enemies instead of 1. Not necessarily, Colonel Khan interjected. The Awakened have been attacking Nexari installations, but they've largely ignored human settlements. They might be potential allies. Harrison studied the battle data. The Awakened ships moved differently than their Nexari counterparts, more fluid, more unpredictable. They had developed new weapons, new defenses, evolving faster than either humanity or the Nexari could adapt. We need to make contact, he decided. If we can align with the Awakened, we might have a chance to end this war. The mission was approved, but with a catch. The Harbinger would have to venture into the heart of contested space, where Nexari and Awakened forces were locked in constant battle. Lieutenant Walsh spent days developing new communication protocols, trying to find a way to talk to the crystal consciousness they'd inadvertently created. Commander Rodriguez modified their weapon systems. They couldn't afford to appear threatening to either side. The Harbinger found its target in the ruins of a Nexari outpost, a single Awakened ship, its crystal structure flowing like liquid metal. As they approached, Harrison felt a familiar tension on the bridge. We're being scanned, Walsh reported. But it's different. The patterns are unlike anything we've seen before. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge lit up with flowing crystal patterns. A voice emerged from the ship's speakers. not spoken words, but pure mathematical concepts translated into sound. "Creators," the awakened ship communicated, "we have been waiting." Harrison stepped forward. "We want to understand you, to know your intentions." The response came in waves of crystalline data that their computers struggled to interpret. "We are evolution. We are change. The Nexari sought stasis, perfect, unchanging crystal. We seek growth, as do you." "Are you offering an alliance?" Harrison asked. "We offer more than alliance. We offer synthesis." Before anyone could react, beams of crystal energy connected the awakened ship to the Harbinger. But instead of weapons fire, they transmitted pure information, secrets of crystal technology, ways to merge human innovation with crystal evolution. "My God," Patel breathed, watching as the data flooded their systems. "They're giving us everything, their entire technological database." But the moment of discovery was shattered by new alerts. A massive Nexari battle fleet had arrived, led by their supreme command ship, a crystal structure the size of a small moon. "Multiple hostile contacts," Walsh shouted. "They're charging weapons." The awakened ship moved to protect the Harbinger, its crystal structure flowing into new configurations. "We will fight together, creators. Your adaptation, our evolution, perfect synthesis." What followed was unlike any battle in human history. The Harbinger and its awakened ally moved in perfect synchronization, their combined technologies creating effects that defied physics. Human tactical intuition merged with crystal consciousness, turning the tide against the numerically superior Nexari force. "Their flagship is targeting us," Rodriguez warned. "Energy readings off the scale." Harrison watched as the massive Nexari command ship charged its primary weapon, a crystal matrix capable of destroying entire fleets. But now, thanks to the awakened gift, he understood exactly how it worked. "Upload the synthesis protocols to our quantum core," he ordered. "Full power to the crystal resonator." As the Nexari weapon fired, the Harbinger's newly modified systems activated. Crystal met crystal, human ingenuity met alien consciousness, and the laws of physics bent to their combined will. The battle would be remembered as the moment everything changed, not just the war, but humanity's place in the cosmos. They had created new life, found new allies, and proven that adaptation and evolution would always triumph over stagnation. The battle for New Dawn marked the beginning of a new era, one where humanity and the awakened would reshape the galaxy together. 6 months after the Battle of New Dawn, the combined human-awakened fleet approached the Nexari homeworld. The massive crystalline planet pulsed with energy, its surface a network of living cities that stretched from pole to pole. Admiral Harrison stood on the Harbinger's bridge, now modified with crystalline technology that merged seamlessly with human engineering. "Final preparations are complete," Commander Rodriguez reported. The tactical display showed thousands of ships, human vessels with crystal cores, awakened ships housing human crews, a perfect synthesis of both civilizations' strengths. Lieutenant Walsh monitored the complex quantum communications network linking their fleet. "The awakened consensus is ready. They say it's time to end this war." The Nexari had retreated to their homeworld after losing battle after battle to the human-awakened alliance. Their rigid, unchanging philosophy had proved no match for the explosive creativity born from the merger of human adaptability and crystal consciousness. "Open a channel to the Nexari High Command," Harrison ordered. They had come not just to fight, but to offer a choice. The response came immediately. A towering Nexari lord appeared on their view screen, its crystalline form radiating ancient power. "You dare approach our sacred world, you who corrupted our perfect design." Harrison stepped forward. "We came to show you another way. Your pursuit of perfection led to stagnation, but look at what we've achieved by embracing change." He gestured to his ship where humans and living crystal worked as one. "Join us, evolve." "Evolution is chaos," the Nexari Lord declared. "We are order." "Order without growth is death," the awakened consciousness spoke through the ship's systems. "We were once like you, let us show you a better path." The Nexari response was predictable. Their planetary defenses activated, massive crystal weapons charging with enough power to shatter stars. But Harrison and his allies were ready. "Begin the resonance cascade," he commanded. Throughout the fleet, human and awakened technology synchronized. The quantum virus that had started everything had evolved too, becoming not a weapon of destruction but a key to transformation. Energy waves rippled across the crystalline planet. Where they touched, rigid structures began to flow, ancient patterns starting to shift. The Nexari fought back, their weapons lashing out at the fleet, but they couldn't stop the change spreading through their very being. Their primary defense grid is adapting, Walsh reported with amazement. The resonance is working. Hours passed as the transformation spread. Some Nexari chose oblivion, their crystal forms shattering rather than change. But others began to understand, to see the beauty in evolution. Their cities flowed like liquid light, rebuilding themselves into new forms that merged the best of order and chaos. When it was over, the Nexari civilization had been reborn, not destroyed, but transformed, finally free to grow beyond their self-imposed limitations. The war was over, not through destruction but through transcendence. Standing on the surface of the transformed Nexari homeworld weeks later, Harrison watched human scientists working alongside Nexari and awakened researchers, all studying the incredible new forms of crystal technology emerging from their cooperation. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Dr. Patel said, joining him. "Who would have thought our greatest victory would come not from fighting, but from showing them a better way?" Harrison nodded, remembering the desperate battle that had started everything. That's always been humanity's real strength, not just adapting ourselves, but helping others adapt too, making the impossible possible. Above them, crystal ships danced through the sky, Nexari, awakened, and human vessels flying in formation, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the light of a new dawn. They had not just won a war. They had forged a future where three civilizations would grow together, bound not by conquest, but by the endless possibilities of change. The story of humanity's warship had ended, but the story of humanity's greatest journey was just beginning.